She took her daughter to a friend's wedding, only to find her tech millionaire CEO ex-husband marrying the same friend. Mom, isn't that Dad at the altar? Olivia Harlow felt the world tilt beneath her feet as her 8-year-old daughter's innocent question sliced through the elegant wedding music. Her gaze locked on the man standing at the front of the church, the unmistakable broad shoulders, the confident stance, the perfectly tailored suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. Maxwell Reed, her ex-husband, the tech CEO who had walked away from their marriage 2 years ago, claiming he needed space to focus on his expanding empire. And beside him stood Rebecca, her supposed friend, the woman who had helped Olivia rebuild her life in this small coastal town after everything fell apart. Mom, Lily tugged at her hand again, confusion clouding her young face. Why is Dad marrying Miss Rebecca? Have you ever had your entire world collapse in a single moment? Have you ever discovered that the people you trusted most were harboring the cruelest betrayal? What would you do if you found yourself standing in a church watching your ex-husband marry the woman who had pretended to be your friend? The wedding guests were turning now, curious eyes taking in the frozen mother and daughter at the back of the church. Olivia could feel their stares, could see the moment of recognition dawning on some faces. The whispers began, rippling through the crowd like a poisonous tide. And at the altar, Maxwell finally noticed her. Their eyes met across the sea of flowers and finery, and for a brief moment, Olivia saw something flicker across his face. Surprise? Guilt? Panic? Whatever it was, it vanished quickly behind the composed mask he always wore so well. If you've ever felt blindsided by someone you trusted, hit that like button and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories that explore the depths of human relationships. The invitation had arrived on a Tuesday, an elegant cream envelope with Olivia's name written in flowing calligraphy. She'd been in the middle of renovating the lighthouse kitchen, sawdust in her hair and paint on her cheek, when Lily brought in the mail. Inside was a wedding invitation, the kind that spoke of expense and tradition. Rebecca Collins requests the honor of your presence at her marriage too. The name had been deliberately obscured by a handwritten note. I know this is last minute, but I'd love for you and Lily to be there. My fiancé is amazing, and I can't wait for you to meet him. Please come, it would mean the world to me. Love, Rebecca. Olivia had stared at the invitation, conflicted. Rebecca had been one of the first people to welcome her to Harborview after she'd purchased the abandoned lighthouse. As the owner of the town's art gallery, Rebecca had helped Olivia display and sell some of her architectural sketches when money was tight during the renovation. She'd been kind, supportive, seemingly understanding of Olivia's need for a fresh start. But they weren't close friends, not really. Olivia had kept everyone at a careful distance since moving to Harborview, focused on healing herself and creating a stable home for Lily. Why would her presence mean the world to Rebecca? Are we going to a wedding, Mom? Lily had asked, excitement already building in her voice. At 8, she found any event requiring fancy clothes thrilling. Looking at her daughter's hopeful face, Olivia had felt a pang. Since the divorce, Lily's life had been marked by absences. Her father's frequent business trips had evolved into sporadic video calls from whatever global tech hub Maxwell was conquering that month. Perhaps a wedding would be good for both of them. All right, Olivia had decided. We'll go. Now, standing in the back of the church with her daughter's hand in hers, Olivia understood the strange wording of the invitation, the obscured name, Rebecca's insistence that they attend. It hadn't been about friendship at all. Lily, Olivia whispered, finding her voice at last, we need to. But it was too late. The wedding coordinator had spotted them and was hurrying over, a professional smile fixed on her face. You must be Rebecca's friends, she whispered. We're just about to begin. Please, let me show you to your seats. Before Olivia could protest, they were being guided down the side aisle to an empty row near the back. The music swelled, the doors at the rear of the church opened, and all heads turned to watch Rebecca begin her procession. Olivia's mind raced as she mechanically sat down, pulling Lily beside her. How long had this been going on? Had Rebecca sought her out deliberately when she moved to Harborview? Had she and Maxwell been laughing at her all this time? Rebecca floated down the aisle in a designer gown that probably cost more than Olivia's entire lighthouse renovation. Her smile was radiant, her eyes fixed on Maxwell as if he were the answer to every prayer she'd ever whispered. Beside Olivia, Lily fidgeted with excitement. "Mom," she whispered too loudly. "Dad didn't tell me he was getting married. Do you think he'll be surprised to see us?" A few heads turned at Lily's words, curious expressions quickly morphing into uncomfortable awareness. Olivia felt heat rising in her cheeks as she gently shushed her daughter. For Lily's sake, Olivia chose dignity. She sat rigid through the ceremony, watching as vows were exchanged between her ex-husband and the woman who had pretended to be her friend. Each word felt like another betrayal. Each smile exchanged between the couple another knife in her back. When the minister asked if anyone knew of any reason why these two should not be joined in matrimony, Olivia felt dozens of eyes flicker toward her. She kept her gaze steady, her expression neutral, though her hands trembled in her lap. The moment passed. The ceremony continued, and Olivia sat there, a silent witness to the culmination of a deception she hadn't even known was being orchestrated. As the newly married couple turned to face their guests, Maxwell's eyes found hers again. This time, there was no mistaking the emotion that crossed his face. It was guilt, pure and unmistakable. Beside him, Rebecca followed his gaze, her triumphant smile faltering when she saw Olivia and Lily. "Ladies and gentlemen," the minister announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Maxwell Reed." The crowd erupted in applause. Lily clapped too, confusion evident on her face as she looked between her father at the altar and her mother beside her. "Mom, can we go say hi to Dad now?" she asked as the recessional music began. Olivia took a deep breath, steadying herself. "In a little while, Lily. Let's wait until after the pictures." The truth was, Olivia needed time. Time to process this betrayal, time to decide what to say, time to figure out how to protect her daughter from the ugly reality of what had happened. As the wedding party disappeared for photographs and guests began making their way to the reception, Olivia led Lily to a quiet corner of the church garden. The June day was perfect, sunny but not too warm, with a gentle breeze carrying the scent of roses and salt water from the nearby coast. "Lily, I need to tell you something important," Olivia began, kneeling to meet her daughter's eyes. "I didn't know your father would be here today. I didn't know he was the one marrying Miss Rebecca." Lily's brow furrowed. "You didn't know? But aren't you friends with Miss Rebecca?" "I thought I was," Olivia said carefully. "But real friends don't keep secrets like this from each other. Is that why you look sad? Because they didn't tell you?" Olivia brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's face, marveling at how perceptive children could be. "Yes, partly. But what matters now is that your father is here, and I know you've missed him. Would you like to see him?" Lily nodded eagerly, her earlier confusion temporarily forgotten in the excitement of seeing her absent father. "All right, we'll go to the reception and find him. But Lily, this is an important day for him, so we won't stay long, okay?" As they walked toward the reception tent set up on the resort's manicured lawn, Olivia steeled herself for what was to come. She had spent 2 years rebuilding her life after Maxwell left, 2 years finding strength she didn't know she possessed. She had survived the collapse of her career after the tragic accident at one of her construction sites. She had survived the collapse of her marriage when Maxwell decided she was too damaged, too consumed by guilt to fit into his rising star narrative. She would survive this too. The reception tent was a marvel of luxury, with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, tables adorned with elaborate floral arrangements, and a string quartet playing softly in the corner. It screamed Maxwell Reed, opulent, impressive, designed to remind everyone of his success. Olivia and Lily had barely entered when a familiar voice called out, "Olivia? Olivia Harlow." She turned to see James Sullivan approaching, his weathered face breaking into a genuine smile. James owned the fishing fleet in Harborview and had become something of a friend over the past year, helping with some of the heavier renovation work at the lighthouse and occasionally bringing fresh catch for dinner. James, what are you doing here? Olivia asked, genuinely surprised to see the fisherman in this setting. Rebecca's father and I go way back, he explained, looking somewhat uncomfortable in his suit. Known her since she was knee-high. His eyes moved to Lily. Hello there, Miss Lily. You look very pretty today. Lily beamed at the compliment. Thank you, Mr. James. We didn't know my dad was getting married today. It's a surprise. James's expression shifted, his eyes moving back to Olivia with new understanding. I see, he said quietly. I didn't realize. I'm sorry, Olivia. Before she could respond, a hush fell over the crowd as Maxwell and Rebecca made their grand entrance. The guests applauded as the newlyweds moved to the center of the tent for their first dance. That's my dad, Lily said proudly to James, pointing at Maxwell. James placed a gentle hand on Lily's shoulder. He's a lucky man to have a daughter like you, he said, though his eyes held a different message when they met Olivia's. As the dance ended and guests began to mingle, Olivia saw Maxwell whisper something to Rebecca before making his way through the crowd toward them. Rebecca remained on the dance floor, her smile fixed, but her eyes following her new husband with obvious concern. Daddy! Lily broke free from Olivia's grasp and ran to Maxwell, who scooped her up in a practiced motion, his face breaking into what appeared to be a genuine smile. Princess! What a wonderful surprise, he exclaimed, though his eyes told a different story as they met Olivia's over their daughter's head. We came for the wedding. Mom didn't tell me you were the one getting married, Lily said excitedly, her arms wrapped around her father's neck. Well, it's the best wedding surprise ever to see you, Maxwell said, setting Lily down but keeping hold of her hand as he approached Olivia. Olivia, I didn't expect to see you here. Clearly, she replied, keeping her voice level for Lily's sake. Rebecca was quite insistent that we attend, though she somehow forgot to mention who she was marrying. Maxwell had the grace to look uncomfortable. It's complicated. I'm sure it is. James cleared his throat. Lily, I think I saw a chocolate fountain over by the dessert table. Would you like to investigate with me? Lily looked to her mother for permission, which Olivia granted with a nod, grateful for James's intuitive understanding of the situation. Once Lily was out of earshot, Olivia turned back to Maxwell. How long? She asked simply. Maxwell ran a hand through his perfectly styled hair, a rare gesture of discomfort from a man who prided himself on control. It's not what you think. What I think is that my ex-husband is marrying a woman who befriended me under false pretenses. What I think is that you both orchestrated an elaborate deception. What I think, Maxwell, is that you've reached a new low, and I didn't think that was possible. Rebecca and I reconnected last year, he said, lowering his voice as a couple passed nearby. It wasn't planned. She was in New York for an art exhibition. We ran into each other at a gallery opening. Ran into each other, Olivia repeated flatly. And she just happened to not mention that she knew your ex-wife? That she had been playing the role of supportive friend to the woman you left when things got difficult? Maxwell's jaw tightened. I didn't leave because things got difficult. I left because you shut me out. After the accident, you disappeared into yourself. You wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't let me help you. You were determined to punish yourself, and you pushed away anyone who tried to tell you it wasn't your fault. The mention of the accident sent a familiar chill through Olivia. The collapsed staircase. The worker who died. The investigations, the lawsuits. The end of her career as one of Boston's most promising architects. Don't you dare make this about the accident, she said, her voice low but intense. You left because my trauma and guilt were inconvenient for your image. Your investors didn't want a CEO whose wife was involved in a fatal construction accident. It didn't fit the perfect narrative you were selling. That's not true and you know it, Maxwell insisted, though something in his eyes suggested her words had hit closer to home than he wanted to admit. I tried to be there for you. I tried for months, but you wouldn't let anyone in. So instead of trying harder, you walked away, and apparently, straight into Rebecca's waiting arms. Olivia shook her head, a bitter laugh escaping her. Did you send her to Harborview to keep tabs on me? Was that part of the plan? No. Rebecca moved to Harborview before we even met. Her choosing that town was completely unrelated to you. But she knew who I was when she befriended me. She knew she was involved with my ex-husband while pretending to be my friend. Maxwell at least had the decency to look ashamed at this. Yes, she knew. Across the tent, Olivia could see Rebecca watching them intently, her perfect wedding day clearly not going according to plan. Several guests were also observing the interaction between the groom and his ex-wife with poorly disguised interest. "Congratulations on your marriage," Olivia said finally, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside her. "Lily and I will be leaving now. Please say goodbye to her before we go." "Olivia, wait." Maxwell reached for her arm, but stopped short of actually touching her. "I never meant for you to find out this way. Rebecca insisted on inviting you. Said it would be worse if you heard about it secondhand. I should have told you myself. I know that." "Yes, you should have. But consideration for others has never been your strong suit, has it?" Before Maxwell could respond, Lily came bounding back, her face smeared with chocolate and eyes bright with excitement. "Dad, they have a chocolate fountain and an ice sculpture that looks like a swan. And Mr. James showed me where they're keeping all the presents. There's hundreds." Maxwell's expression softened as he looked at his daughter, genuine affection replacing the tension of moments before. He knelt down to her level, producing a handkerchief from his pocket to wipe the chocolate from her face. "That sounds amazing, Princess. Are you having a good time?" "The best. But Mom says we have to leave soon." Lily's excitement dimmed slightly. "Can't we stay longer? I hardly ever get to see you." The simple truth in her words hung in the air between the adults. Maxwell glanced up at Olivia, a silent plea in his eyes. "Maybe we can stay a little while longer," Olivia conceded, unable to deny her daughter this rare time with her father, despite her own desire to flee the scene of such betrayal. As Lily excitedly showed Maxwell the transformation of their lighthouse home through photographs she'd brought, Olivia noticed Rebecca approaching, her wedding gown rustling softly with each step. The bride's smile was fixed in place, but her eyes betrayed her anxiety. "Olivia," Rebecca said, her voice overly bright. "I'm so glad you could make it." "Are you?" Olivia replied quietly. "Because I'm finding that hard to believe." Rebecca's smile faltered. "I know this must be a shock. I wanted to tell you, but what? But you were too busy planning your wedding to the man I was married to for 10 years? The father of my child? Or were you too busy pretending to be my friend while lying to my face?" "It wasn't like that," Rebecca insisted, lowering her voice as a waiter passed by with a tray of champagne. "When I moved to Harborview, I had no idea I would ever see Maxwell again. Meeting you was completely coincidental. And yet when you did reconnect with Maxwell, you continued your friendship with me without ever mentioning it. That was a choice, Rebecca. A series of choices, actually." Rebecca glanced at Maxwell and Lily, who were still absorbed in the lighthouse photographs. "I didn't know how to tell you. At first, it was just a few dinners when he was in New York. Then it became more serious, and the longer I waited, the harder it became to find the right moment. So instead, you invited me to your wedding without telling me who the groom was?" Olivia shook her head in disbelief. "Did you think I wouldn't recognize my own ex-husband?" "No. I thought it would be better if you found out in person rather than hearing rumors. Harborview is a small town. People talk. People certainly will talk now," Olivia said, gesturing subtly to the wedding guests who were watching their interaction with undisguised curiosity. Before Rebecca could respond, Maxwell rejoined them, Lily still chattering excitedly at his side. "Rebecca," he said, his tone cautious, "your father is looking for you. Something about the cake cutting." "Of course," Rebecca said, composing herself quickly. She turned to Lily with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Lily, would you like to help me cut the wedding cake? The flower girl had to leave early, so I need a special assistant." Lily looked to Olivia for permission, her eyes pleading. Despite everything, Olivia nodded. "Go ahead, sweetheart. I'll be right here." As Rebecca led Lily away, Maxwell turned to Olivia. "I'm sorry. This isn't how I wanted things to go. How exactly did you want things to go, Maxwell? Did you have some perfect scenario in mind where your ex-wife graciously accepts your marriage to a woman who deliberately deceived her? I didn't think you'd be here, he admitted. When Rebecca said she'd invited you, I assumed you'd decline. And your solution was to walk away? To file for divorce while I was still trying to process the fact that a man died because of a mistake on my project? It wasn't your mistake. The contractor cut corners, used substandard materials. The investigation cleared you completely. A man still died, Olivia said quietly. Daniel Mercer. He had 2 children. The youngest was only 4. Legal exoneration doesn't erase that reality. Maxwell ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration she remembered well from their marriage. This is exactly what I'm talking about. 2 years later, and you're still carrying this guilt that isn't yours to bear. Across the tent, Lily was standing beside Rebecca at a towering wedding bouquet, beaming as photographers captured the moment. The scene was picture-perfect, exactly the kind of family image Maxwell had always valued. I should go, Olivia said, suddenly exhausted by the weight of the past and the shock of the present. Please tell Lily I'll be waiting in the garden when she's ready to leave. Olivia, wait. Maxwell caught her arm gently. There's something else you should know. Something in his tone made her pause. What is it? Rebecca and we're moving to Harborview permanently. I'm opening a new headquarters for Reed Tech there. The paperwork went through last week for the old cannery building on the waterfront. The news hit Olivia like a physical blow. Her sanctuary, the small coastal town where she'd rebuilt her life away from the shadows of her past, would now become the home of her ex-husband and his new wife. The very woman who had betrayed her trust. I see, she managed, her voice remarkably steady despite the turmoil inside. Well, Harborview is a free country. You're certainly entitled to live wherever you choose. I want to be closer to Lily, Maxwell said, as if this explained everything. These past 2 years, seeing her only during school breaks, it's not enough. I've missed too much of her life already. How convenient that your desire to be a more present father coincides with your new marriage, Olivia observed. Forgive me if I'm skeptical about your timing. Before Maxwell could respond, James appeared at Olivia's side, his presence a welcome buffer. Everything all right here? He asked, his question directed at Olivia, though his eyes assessed Maxwell with undisguised wariness. Fine, Olivia said. James, this is Maxwell Reed, Lily's father. Maxwell, this is James Sullivan, a friend from Harborview. The 2 men shook hands, sizing each other up with the instinctive caution of territorial animals. Sullivan, Maxwell said, recognition dawning. You own the fishing fleet. That's right, James confirmed. Been in my family for generations. I believe we have a meeting scheduled next month. Your fleet is one of the local businesses affected by the cannery redevelopment. James's expression remained neutral. Looking forward to it. An awkward silence fell, broken only when Lily came running back, her excitement palpable. Mom, Dad, I got to cut the cake with Miss Rebecca, and she said I could keep this flower from her bouquet. She proudly displayed a slightly crushed rose. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Olivia said, forcing a smile. But I think it's time for us to go now. It's a long drive back to Harborview. But we just got here, Lily protested, looking to her father for support. Maxwell knelt down to her level again. Your mom's right, princess. But guess what? I have some exciting news. Rebecca and I are going to be moving to Harborview very soon. That means I'll get to see you all the time. Lily's eyes widened with joy. Really? You're going to live in our town? Can you come see our lighthouse? I could show you my room and the special window seat Mom built for me and the tide pools where I collect shells. I'd love that, Maxwell said, his smile genuine as he looked at his daughter. And maybe you can help Rebecca and me find a house. Would you like that? Yes. Lily threw her arms around her father's neck. This is the best day ever. Over Lily's head, Maxwell's eyes met Olivia's, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Whatever their personal feelings, Lily's happiness had to come first. We should go, Olivia said again, gently disentangling her daughter from Maxwell. Say goodbye to your father, Lily. Bye, Dad. See you in Harborview. Lily gave him one more quick hug before taking her mother's hand. I'll call you, Maxwell said to Olivia. We should talk about arrangements for Lily once we're settled. Olivia nodded, not trusting herself to speak further. With James beside them, she and Lily made their way out of the reception tent and through the manicured gardens of the resort. Only when they reached the parking lot, safely out of sight of the wedding guests, did Olivia allow her composure to crack. She leaned against her car, taking deep breaths to steady herself. Mom, are you okay? Lily asked, her young face creased with concern. I'm fine, sweetheart, Olivia assured her, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her. Just a little tired from the drive. James stepped forward, his weathered face kind. Lily, would you do me a favor? I think I left my phone on that bench over there. Could you check for me? As Lily ran to the bench, James turned to Olivia. You don't have to be fine, you know. What happened in there? Anyone would be shaken. I just can't believe they're moving to Harborview, Olivia said, her voice barely above a whisper. I moved there to get away, to start over somewhere Maxwell had no connections. And now you're worried your safe harbor isn't safe anymore, James finished for her. Exactly. Olivia looked up at him, grateful for his understanding. The lighthouse was supposed to be our fresh start, a place where the past couldn't find us. The thing about lighthouses, James said thoughtfully, is that they don't move when storms come. They stand firm, keep shining their light, guide ships safely home. Maybe that's what you need to do now. Stand firm while my ex-husband and his new wife, who happens to be the woman I thought was my friend, move into my town? That's asking a lot, James. It is, he agreed. But you're stronger than you give yourself credit for, Olivia. You rebuilt that lighthouse when everyone in town said it was a lost cause. You created a home for you and Lily out of ruins. This is just another storm to weather. Lily came running back, shaking her head. No phone, Mr. James. Must have left it in my truck after all, he said with a wink at Olivia. Thanks for checking, Captain. Lily beamed at the nickname, a reference to their ongoing game where she was the captain of the lighthouse and James was her first mate during his visits. We should head home, Olivia said, finding her keys in her purse. It's a long drive. I could follow you back, James offered. Make sure you get home safely. The offer was tempting. The thought of 3 hours alone with her thoughts, trying to process the day's revelations while maintaining a cheerful facade for Lily, was daunting. Thank you, but we'll be fine, Olivia said, summoning a smile. I'm sure you have other plans for your Saturday night besides babysitting us. Nothing that can't wait, James replied, his eyes conveying more than his casual tone. Besides, I promised Lily I'd show her how to properly bait a crab trap, remember? Tomorrow morning could be perfect for that. Please, Mom. Lily chimed in, her earlier disappointment forgotten in the prospect of a new adventure. Looking at her daughter's hopeful face and James's steady, reassuring presence, Olivia felt something shift inside her. Perhaps the lighthouse wasn't her only safe harbor in Harborview. All right, she conceded. But you're bringing coffee. Strong coffee. James grinned. Deal. As they drove away from the resort, Olivia glanced in her rearview mirror. The elegant building was growing smaller in the distance, along with the elaborate celebration of Maxwell and Rebecca's new life together. Beside her, Lily was already half asleep, the excitement of the day catching up with her. In the side mirror, Olivia could see James's truck following at a respectful distance, a steady presence in her wake. The road ahead stretched toward Harborview, toward the lighthouse that had become their sanctuary. Whatever storms were gathering on the horizon, Olivia knew one thing with certainty. She would not be weathering them alone. The drive back to Harborview passed in a blur of coastal highways and quiet towns. Lily had fallen asleep within the first hour, her head resting against the window, the slightly crushed rose from Rebecca's bouquet still clutched in her small hand. Olivia's mind replayed the day's events on an endless loop, the moment of recognition in the church, Maxwell's guilty expression, Rebecca's hollow apologies. Each memory brought fresh waves of anger and betrayal, But beneath those emotions lay something else, something unexpected: relief. Seeing Maxwell with Rebecca had confirmed what part of her had always known but been reluctant to admit. Their marriage had been over long before the divorce papers were signed, perhaps even before the accident that had served as the convenient breaking point. Maxwell had always been more in love with his vision of what their life should be than with Olivia herself. James's truck remained a constant presence in her rearview mirror, its headlights a reassuring beacon in the gathering dusk. There was something comforting about knowing someone was watching out for them, expecting nothing in return. By the time they reached the lighthouse, night had fallen completely. The structure stood silhouetted against the star-filled sky, its recently restored exterior gleaming white in the moonlight. Olivia had installed solar-powered lights along the path from the small parking area to the cottage, their soft glow guiding the way home. "We're home, Lily," she said gently, touching her daughter's shoulder. "Time to wake up." Lily stirred, blinking sleepily. "Is Mr. James still coming over?" "He's right behind us," Olivia confirmed, watching as James's truck pulled in beside her car. "But it's late, sweetheart. Maybe we should postpone the crab trap lesson until tomorrow." "But he promised," Lily mumbled, rubbing her eyes. James approached the car, tapping lightly on the window. Olivia rolled it down, offering a tired smile. "Made it in one piece," she said. "Never doubted you would," he replied, his eyes taking in her exhausted expression. "But I'm thinking our crab trap expedition might need to wait for morning. Someone looks ready for bed." "No, I'm awake," Lily protested, though her yawn contradicted her words. James chuckled. "Tell you what, Captain, how about I come by early tomorrow with fresh pastries from Margaret's bakery? We can have breakfast and then head down to the cove when the tide is perfect for crabbing." This compromise seemed acceptable to Lily, who nodded sleepily. "Promise you'll come?" "Sullivan's honor," James said solemnly, holding up his hand as if taking an oath. "Now, let's get you inside before you fall asleep standing up." Together, they walked the path to the lighthouse cottage, Lily between them, occasionally stumbling with fatigue. The cottage portion of the lighthouse had been Olivia's first renovation priority, a cozy two-bedroom space with large windows overlooking the ocean. The tower itself was still a work in progress, though she had restored the spiral staircase and created a studio space in the lantern room at the top. Inside, Olivia helped Lily change into pajamas and tucked her into bed, the day's excitement finally catching up with the child, who fell asleep almost instantly. The rose from Rebecca's bouquet lay on her nightstand, a bittersweet reminder of the day's revelations. Olivia stood watching her daughter sleep for a moment, marveling at Lily's resilience. Children adapted so quickly, finding joy in unexpected places. To Lily, today had been an adventure, a fancy wedding, a surprise reunion with her father, and the exciting news that he would soon be nearby. She hadn't perceived the undercurrents of betrayal and deception that had left Olivia feeling as though the ground had shifted beneath her feet. With a soft sigh, Olivia closed Lily's door and returned to the living room where James waited, his tall frame looking surprisingly at home against the backdrop of her carefully restored space. "She's out like a light," Olivia said, running a hand through her hair, suddenly aware of how disheveled she must look after the emotional day. "Kids are amazing that way," James observed. 1 minute full speed ahead, the next completely powered down. "I should probably follow her example," Olivia said, though the thought of sleep seemed impossible with her mind still racing. "Thank you for following us home. You really didn't have to do that." "I wanted to," James replied simply. "You look like you could use a friend." The word friend hung in the air between them, taking on new weight after the day's revelations about Rebecca's false friendship. "I'm not sure I know what that word means anymore," Olivia admitted, sinking onto the sofa. "Apparently my judgment in that department is severely flawed." James took a seat in the armchair across from her, his expression thoughtful. "Rebecca's actions don't reflect on you, Olivia. They reflect on her." "Maybe, but I let her in. I trusted her when my instincts were screaming at me to keep everyone at a distance." Olivia shook her head. And now they're moving here. To Harborview. My safe harbor isn't so safe anymore. You think you need to leave? James asked, concern evident in his voice. The thought crossed my mind during the drive back, Olivia admitted. Pack up, start over somewhere else. It wouldn't be the first time. And the lighthouse. All the work you've put into it. Olivia glanced around the room, taking in the exposed beam ceiling she'd painstakingly restored, the built-in bookshelves she'd crafted by hand, the window seat where she and Lily often sat watching storms roll in across the ocean. I don't know, she said softly. It feels like everything I build eventually crumbles anyway. That's not true, James said firmly. Look at what you've created here. This place was falling apart when you bought it. Everyone in town said it was beyond saving. But you saw something worth fighting for. And now Maxwell and Rebecca will be just down the road, a constant reminder of everything I've lost. James leaned forward, his eyes meeting hers directly. Is that really how you see it? As a loss? Because from where I'm sitting, you escaped a marriage to a man who couldn't stand by you when things got tough, who couldn't see your pain as anything but an inconvenience to his perfect life narrative. His words struck a chord, articulating something Olivia had felt but never fully acknowledged. You don't know Maxwell, she said, though there was little conviction in her defense. I know enough, James replied. I know he left when you needed support most. I know he's barely been present in Lily's life for 2 years. And I know that any man who would allow his new wife to deceive his ex the way Rebecca deceived you isn't someone I'd consider trustworthy. Olivia was silent for a moment, processing his assessment. When you put it that way, it does sound like I dodged a bullet rather than lost a prize. Exactly, James smiled, the expression warming his weathered features. And for what it's worth, I think running away would be a mistake. This lighthouse, this town, they've become part of who you are, who Lily is becoming. Even with Maxwell and Rebecca setting up house here. Especially then, James insisted. Harborview is your home now. You've earned your place here through hard work and genuine connections. Don't let them take that from you. Olivia considered his words, finding unexpected strength in them. When did you get so wise, James Sullivan? Comes with the territory, he said with a self-deprecating shrug. You don't captain fishing boats for 20 years without learning a thing or two about navigating rough waters. The analogy made Olivia smile despite herself. And this qualifies as rough waters? Stormy seas indeed, James confirmed. But you've got a solid vessel and a good crew. He gestured around the lighthouse cottage. This place has weathered worse than Maxwell Reed and his new bride. And so have you. The simple vote of confidence touched Olivia deeply. Unlike the hollow reassurances she'd received after the accident or the superficial support Rebecca had offered, James's faith in her felt genuine and grounded in reality. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything today, for following us home, for seeing me. Something shifted in James's expression, a softening around his eyes. That's not exactly difficult, Olivia. You're pretty remarkable, in case you hadn't noticed. The compliment caught her off guard, warming her cheeks. I'm a mess, James. A divorced architect who can't design buildings anymore because I'm too traumatized by one tragic accident. Hardly remarkable. That's not how I see you, he said simply. I see a woman who faced unimaginable tragedy and kept going, who rebuilt her life from the ground up, who creates beauty out of broken things. He gestured to the lighthouse around them. Who else could have seen what this place could become? His words touched something deep inside Olivia, a part of herself she had almost forgotten existed. The visionary who could look at ruins and see possibility, who could transform neglect into beauty. I should go, James said, standing reluctantly. Let you get some rest. It's been a hell of a day. It has, Olivia agreed, rising to walk him to the door. But ending it with a friend, a real friend, makes it better somehow. At the door, James turned to face her, his expression serious. For what it's worth, Olivia, I think the best response to today isn't running away. It's standing your ground, showing Maxwell and Rebecca that you're stronger than their deception. And how exactly do I do that? By thriving, James said simply. By continuing to build the life you want, right here in this lighthouse, in this town. By showing Lily what real strength looks like. The words resonated with something Olivia had been trying to teach her daughter since the divorce. That true strength wasn't about never falling, but about getting back up each time life knocked you down. I'll try, she promised. That's all any of us can do, James replied. I'll see you in the morning. Pastries and coffee as promised. We'll be here, Olivia said, surprised to realize how much she was looking forward to it. After James left, Olivia climbed the spiral staircase to the lantern room at the top of the lighthouse. The space had become her sanctuary, a studio where she had slowly begun sketching again, tentative designs that existed only on paper but represented her gradual return to the work she had once loved. The room was circular, with windows on all sides offering a panoramic view of the coastline and the vast Atlantic beyond. On clear nights like this one, the moon cast a silver path across the water, a natural lighthouse beam guiding the way home. Olivia settled on the window seat she'd built, drawing her knees up to her chest as she gazed out at the night sky. The events of the day replayed in her mind, but now, in the quiet solitude of her tower, they seemed less overwhelming. Maxwell and Rebecca's betrayal still stung, but it no longer felt like a devastating blow. Instead, it seemed like the final severing of ties to a past that had been holding her back. Perhaps there was freedom in this revelation, a chance to truly move forward without the lingering question of what might have been. As for their impending move to Harborview, Olivia found herself agreeing with James's assessment. Running away would be admitting defeat, allowing them to claim yet another piece of her life. The lighthouse had become her symbol of resilience, a place where broken things could be made whole again. She wouldn't abandon it now. With that resolution firmly in mind, Olivia descended the spiral staircase and prepared for bed. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for the first time in years, she felt ready to face them head-on. Morning arrived with golden light streaming through the east-facing windows of the lighthouse cottage. Olivia woke to the sound of Lily's excited chatter and the rich aroma of coffee wafting up from the kitchen below. For a moment, the events of the previous day seemed like a distant dream. Then reality settled back in. Maxwell and Rebecca's wedding, the revelation of their deception, the news of their impending move to Harborview. But in the clear light of morning, these facts seemed more manageable somehow. Challenges to be faced rather than catastrophes to be fled from. Olivia dressed quickly in jeans and a comfortable sweater, running a brush through her hair before heading downstairs. The scene that greeted her in the kitchen brought an involuntary smile to her face. James stood at the stove, expertly flipping pancakes while Lily set the table, carefully placing forks and knives in their proper positions. A box from Margaret's bakery sat open on the counter, revealing an assortment of pastries, and a French press of coffee waited beside 2 mugs. "Morning, sleepyhead," James called, spotting her in the doorway. "Hope you don't mind us getting started without you. Captain Lily here informed me that pancakes were non-negotiable for a proper crabbing expedition." "Absolutely non-negotiable," Lily agreed solemnly, though her eyes danced with excitement. "Mr. James makes them with blueberries inside." "I can see that," Olivia said, moving to pour herself coffee. "This is quite the breakfast operation you've got going." "Team effort," James replied with a wink at Lily. "Your daughter is an excellent sous chef." The domesticity of the scene struck Olivia suddenly. How natural it felt to have James in their kitchen, how easily he and Lily had fallen into a comfortable rhythm together. It was a glimpse of something she hadn't realized she was missing until this moment. "Sleep okay?" "It is," Olivia assured him. "Definitely a compliment." Before James could respond, Lily bounded back into the kitchen, having changed into her official crabbing outfit, rubber boots, overalls, and a captain's hat James had given her months ago. "Ready for duty, Captain Sullivan," she announced, saluting with exaggerated formality. James returned the salute with equal seriousness. "Excellent timing, Captain Lily. The tide waits for no one." As they gathered their gear and headed down the path to the cove below the lighthouse, Olivia felt a sense of rightness settle over her. Whatever challenges lay ahead with Maxwell and Rebecca's arrival in Harborview, this moment, walking in the morning sunshine with her daughter's hand in hers and James's steady presence beside them, was worth fighting for. The cove below the lighthouse was one of Harborview's hidden treasures, a small crescent of protected beach accessible only by a winding path down the cliff. At high tide, the water filled the cove completely, but as it receded, it revealed tide pools teeming with marine life and perfect conditions for crabbing. James led them to his favorite spot, a collection of rocks that jutted into the water, creating a natural harbor where crabs often gathered. With patient instruction, he showed Lily how to bait the simple traps they'd brought, explaining the importance of securing the bait properly so the crabs couldn't steal it without triggering the trap. Olivia watched them together, struck by how naturally James had stepped into a mentoring role with Lily. He never talked down to her, instead treating her questions with respect and her enthusiasm with genuine appreciation. It was exactly what Lily needed, an adult who saw her as a person in her own right, not just as an extension of her parents. "Mom, come help us check the traps," Lily called, waving excitedly from where she and James were crouched at the water's edge. Joining them, Olivia peered into the trap they'd just pulled up. Inside, two decent-sized crabs scuttled around, their claws snapping at the air. "Look at these beauties," James said appreciatively. "Perfect size for dinner, if you're interested." "Can we, Mom? Can Mr. James cook us crab for dinner?" Lily's eyes were wide with excitement. The invitation hung in the air, unexpected but not unwelcome. Olivia found herself nodding before she'd fully processed the implications. "That would be nice," she said, meeting James's gaze. "If you're offering." "Absolutely," he replied, something warm in his eyes that made Olivia's heart beat a little faster. "It's the least I can do after invading your kitchen this morning." "You didn't invade," Olivia corrected him. "You were invited." "There's a difference." "A very important difference," James agreed, his expression suggesting he understood she was talking about more than just breakfast. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of activity, checking traps, exploring tide pools, collecting shells that Lily insisted were treasure. By noon, they had caught enough crabs for a feast, and Lily's cheeks were pink with sun and excitement. As they climbed back up the path to the lighthouse, their bounty secured in a bucket, Olivia felt lighter than she had in months. The betrayal of yesterday seemed less immediate, overshadowed by the simple joy of the morning. "I should head into town for a few hours," James said as they reached the lighthouse. "Got some business to take care of at the docks, but I'll be back around 6 with everything we need for a proper crab boil, if that works for you ladies." "Perfect," Olivia said. "We'll be here." After James left, Olivia and Lily spent the afternoon working on the lighthouse. Sunday had become their official project day, when they tackled some aspect of the ongoing renovation together. Today's task was painting the built-in bookshelves in the living room, a job Lily approached with characteristic enthusiasm, if not precision. "Mom," Lily said as they worked side by side, her small brush creating more splatters than smooth strokes, "is Dad really going to live in Harborview now?" The question, though expected, still caught Olivia off guard. "That's what he said, sweetheart. He and Rebecca are moving here soon. Will I get to see him more? Like, regular days, not just holidays and stuff?" "I think that's the plan," Olivia said carefully, watching her daughter's reaction. "How do you feel about that?" Lily considered the question with surprising thoughtfulness for an 8-year-old. "Happy, I guess. I miss Dad a lot. But also kind of weird." "Weird how?" "Like, Dad's been gone so long, and now he's suddenly going to be here all the time? And with Miss Rebecca, who's not my mom but is married to my dad now." Lily frowned, trying to articulate complex emotions. "It's just different than I thought it would be." "Different how, sweetheart?" "Well," Lily hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I always thought if Dad came back, it would be to live with us again, in our family. But now he has a new family with Miss Rebecca." The innocent observation pierced Olivia's heart. Despite her own complicated feelings about Maxwell, she had never wanted Lily to feel replaced or forgotten. "Your dad will always be your dad," Olivia said gently. "That doesn't change because he married Rebecca. And you and I will always be a family, no matter what." "I know," Lily said, returning to her painting with renewed focus. "And we have the lighthouse. And Mr. James comes over a lot. So that's kind of like a family too, right?" The question caught Olivia by surprise. "Mr. James is a good friend," she said carefully. "He's better than a friend," Lily declared with the certainty only children possess. "He teaches me things and helps us fix the lighthouse and makes you smile when you think nobody's looking." "Does he now?" Olivia asked, feeling heat rise to her cheeks. "Yep. Like this morning when you were watching him make pancakes. You had that special smile, the one that's just a little bit at the corners." Lily demonstrated, her own mouth quirking up slightly at the edges. "You are entirely too observant for your own good," Olivia said, tapping her daughter's nose with a paint-free finger. "Dad used to say I notice everything," Lily said proudly. "He said it would make me a good scientist someday." "Your father is right about that," Olivia agreed, grateful for the shift in conversation. "You'd make an excellent scientist." They continued painting in companionable silence for a while. The only sounds the gentle swish of brushes against wood and the distant crash of waves against the cliffs below. "Mom," Lily spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "If Dad is married to Miss Rebecca now, does that mean you could get married again too? Like, to someone else?" The question hung in the air between them, loaded with implications Olivia wasn't sure she was ready to address. "That's not something I'm thinking about right now," she said finally. "I'm focused on us, on the lighthouse, on building our life here. But someday, maybe?" Lily pressed, her eyes serious. "Because I think Mr. James would be a really good husband. He already knows how to fix things and make pancakes." Olivia couldn't help but laugh at her daughter's practical assessment of James's husband potential. "Those are definitely important qualities," she agreed. "But marriage is complicated, Lily. It's about a lot more than fixing things and cooking." "Like what?" "Like partnership. Supporting each other through hard times. Wanting the same things out of life." Olivia thought about her marriage to Maxwell, how it had ultimately failed those tests. "It's about seeing each other clearly and loving what you see, even the imperfect parts." Lily considered this, her head tilted to one side. "I think Mr. James sees you clearly," she said finally. "He looks at you like you're something special, even when you're all messy from working on the lighthouse." Out of the mouths of babes, Olivia murmured, more to herself than to Lily. "Let's finish these shelves, shall we? Mr. James will be back before we know it, and we should clean up before dinner." By 6 o'clock, the bookshelves gleamed with fresh paint. Lily was scrubbed clean of paint splatters, and Olivia had changed into a simple sundress that she told herself was not chosen with James in mind, despite Lily's knowing smile. James arrived precisely on time, his arms laden with grocery bags and a bottle of white wine. "Reinforcements have arrived," he announced as Lily opened the door. "I hope you ladies are hungry." "Starving," Lily declared, peering into the bags with undisguised curiosity. "What's all this stuff?" "The makings of a proper New England crab boil," James explained, setting his burden on the kitchen counter. "Potatoes, corn, sausage, and of course, our freshly caught crabs. Plus a few secret ingredients passed down through generations of Sullivans." "Can I help?" Lily asked eagerly. "Absolutely. I'll need a sous chef for this operation." James winked at Olivia over Lily's head. "Your mom can supervise while enjoying a glass of wine. She deserves a break after yesterday." The simple acknowledgement of what she'd been through touched Olivia deeply. Unlike Maxwell, who had always expected her to bounce back quickly from setbacks, James seemed to understand that healing took time and sometimes required space. "I accept that assignment," she said, reaching for the wine and glasses. "Though I reserve the right to jump in if needed." "Noted," James agreed with a smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. "But I think the captain and I have this under control." What followed was one of the most enjoyable evenings Olivia had experienced in years. James and Lily worked together preparing the feast, their easy banter filling the kitchen with laughter. Olivia found herself watching them, struck by how natural they looked together, how seamlessly James had integrated himself into their lives. When dinner was ready, they carried everything out to the small deck Olivia had built off the kitchen. The evening was perfect, warm with a gentle breeze, the setting sun casting golden light across the ocean. James spread newspaper across the table and dumped the steaming contents of the pot directly onto it, the traditional way of serving a crab boil. "Dig in," he encouraged, demonstrating for Lily how to crack the crab shells to get at the sweet meat inside. The meal was delicious, made more so by the company and the satisfaction of eating something they had caught themselves. Lily regaled them with stories from school, her animated descriptions of classroom dramas making both adults laugh. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the first stars appeared, Lily's energy finally began to wane. Her eyes grew heavy, and she leaned against Olivia's side, stifling a yawn. "I think someone's ready for bed," Olivia observed, brushing hair from her daughter's forehead. "Not tired," Lily protested weakly. "Just resting my eyes." "Of course," James said solemnly. "Very important to rest your eyes after a day of expert crabbing and painting." "Exactly," Lily agreed, though her words were slurred with approaching sleep. "Come on, Captain," Olivia said, standing and helping Lily to her feet. "Time to hit the bunk. Say goodnight to Mr. James." "Night, Mr. James," Lily mumbled, surprising both adults by giving him a sleepy hug. "Thanks for the best day ever." "Anytime, Captain," James replied, his voice suspiciously rough as he returned the hug. "Sleep tight." After getting Lily settled in bed, Olivia returned to the deck to find James had cleared away the dinner debris and was leaning against the railing, gazing out at the darkening ocean. 2 glasses of wine sat on the small table, the bottle nearly empty. "She went out like a light," Olivia said, joining him at the railing. "Too much excitement for one weekend." "It was a big one," James agreed. "Wedding revelations, crabbing expeditions, painting projects. She handled it all like a champ." "She did," Olivia said proudly. "She's resilient, that one. More than I give her credit for sometimes." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, the rhythmic sound of waves against the cliffs below creating a soothing backdrop. "Thank you for today," Olivia said finally. "For all of it. The breakfast, the crabbing, this amazing dinner. It was exactly what we needed after yesterday." "Happy to help," James replied, his voice sincere. "Though I have to admit, it wasn't entirely selfless. I enjoy spending time with you both." The simple admission hung in the air between them, honest and undemanding. "Lily thinks you'd make a good husband," Olivia blurted out, immediately regretting the words as heat rushed to her face. "I'm sorry. We were talking earlier and—" James's laugh interrupted her flustered explanation. "Well, that's high praise coming from Captain Lily. What qualifications did I meet? My crab-catching abilities? My pancake-flipping skills? Both of those, actually," Olivia admitted, relieved by his easy response. "Plus your lighthouse-fixing expertise. Solid criteria," James nodded seriously, though his eyes danced with amusement. "And what did her mother think of this assessment?" The question was light, but Olivia sensed the genuine curiosity beneath it. She took a sip of wine, buying herself a moment to consider her response. "Her mother thinks Lily is very perceptive for her age," she said carefully. "And that she values the right things in people." James turned to face her fully, his expression shifting to something more serious. "Olivia, I want to be clear about something. I'm not trying to insert myself into your life or Lily's to fill some vacancy left by Maxwell. That's not what this is about for me." "What is it about, then?" Olivia asked, surprised by her own boldness. "It's about the fact that I've never met anyone quite like you," James said simply. "Someone who sees beauty in broken things, who rebuilds instead of replacing, who faces storms head-on instead of seeking shelter. From the moment you bought this lighthouse that everyone else had written off as a lost cause, I knew you were someone special. The words washed over Olivia like a warm tide, unexpected but welcome. For so long, she had defined herself by her failures, the collapsed staircase, the end of her career, her failed marriage. James was offering a different reflection, one that highlighted her strength rather than her brokenness. "I'm not ready for anything complicated," she said honestly. Yesterday made that abundantly clear. "There's still so much I'm working through." "I know," James assured her. "And I'm not asking for complicated. I'm just saying I'm here, whatever that means. Friend, neighbor, occasional crab-catching instructor for your daughter." His smile was gentle. No pressure, no timeline, no expectations. "That sounds uncomplicated," Olivia said, returning his smile. "Exactly," James agreed. "Uncomplicated is underrated." As they finished their wine under the star-filled sky, Olivia felt something shift inside her, like the turning of a tide. Maxwell and Rebecca's betrayal still stung, and their impending arrival in Harborview would bring new challenges. But standing on the deck of her lighthouse with James beside her, those challenges seemed manageable in a way they hadn't before. The lighthouse had been her refuge, a place to hide from the past. Perhaps now it could become something more, a vantage point from which to view the future, with all its possibilities. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Olivia threw herself into the lighthouse renovations with renewed energy, tackling project she'd been postponing for months. The tower itself was her main focus, restoring the circular staircase, reinforcing the structure, creating a proper studio in the lantern room where she could return to the architectural work that had once defined her. Lily's excitement about Maxwell's impending arrival grew as the days passed. He called more frequently than he had in the past 2 years, sometimes video chatting with Lily for an hour or more, asking about her school projects and lighthouse adventures. Olivia maintained a polite distance during these calls, exchanging only the necessary information about Lily's schedule and needs. James remained a steady presence in their lives, stopping by several times a week with fresh fish or building supplies, always ready to lend a hand with whatever project Olivia was tackling. Their relationship evolved naturally, without pressure or defined expectations, exactly as he had promised that night on the deck. It was during this period that Olivia received an unexpected call from Diane Winters, the head of Harborview's town council. "Olivia, I hope I'm not interrupting," Diane began when Olivia answered. "I'm calling about the old cannery building." Olivia's stomach tightened at the mention of the building Maxwell was purchasing for his new headquarters. "What about it?" "Well, as you probably know, Reed Technologies has purchased the property for renovation. The council just received their preliminary plans, and frankly, we're concerned. The design completely disregards the historical significance of the building. It would essentially gut the interior and replace the facade with something that looks like it belongs in Silicon Valley, not Harborview." "I see," Olivia said carefully, unsure why Diane was sharing this with her. "The thing is," Diane continued, "we can't legally stop the renovation. The building isn't on the historical register, though it should be. But we can request modifications to preserve some of the original character." "That makes sense," Olivia agreed, still confused about her role in this conversation. "We need someone to draft an alternative proposal," Diane said. "Someone who understands both historical preservation and modern functional needs. Someone who could create a design that honors the cannery's past while accommodating its future as a tech headquarters." Understanding dawned. "And you've thought of me. You're the only architect in town, Olivia. And from what I've seen of your work on the lighthouse, you have exactly the sensibility we need. The ability to blend old and new, to find the soul of a structure and preserve it while making it functional for modern use." The request was both flattering and terrifying. Taking on this project would mean directly opposing Maxwell's vision, inserting herself into his business in a way that could be seen as confrontational. It would also mean returning to professional architectural work, something she had avoided since the accident. "I don't know, Diane," Olivia hedged. "It's been a long time since I've taken on a commercial project, and given my history with Maxwell Reed, it might be seen as personal. It is personal, Diane countered. For everyone in Harborview. That cannery employed half the town for generations. It's part of our heritage. We need someone who understands that to advocate for its preservation. Olivia was silent, weighing the request against her own fears and reservations. Just think about it, Diane urged. The council meets next Tuesday to review the plans. If you could have something preliminary by then, it would give us leverage to request modifications. After hanging up, Olivia climbed to the lantern room, her thoughts in turmoil. The drafting table she'd installed faced east, overlooking the town of Harborview spread along the coastline. From this vantage point, she could see the old cannery building, its weathered brick structure standing sentinel at the harbor's edge. The building had character, history, stories embedded in its walls. Maxwell's sleek, modern design would erase all of that, replacing authentic heritage with corporate aesthetics. The thought bothered her more than she expected. Taking out her sketchbook, Olivia began to draw, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. The cannery building took shape under her pencil, its essential structure preserved but reimagined for new purpose. Hours passed unnoticed as she worked, the creative flow she had once taken for granted returning like a long-absent friend. When James found her there later that evening, she was surrounded by sketches, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, a smudge of graphite on her cheek. "Diane called you," he guessed, taking in the scene. Olivia looked up, surprised. "You knew about this?" "I may have suggested your name when the council was discussing options," James admitted. "But the decision to call you was entirely Diane's. This puts me in direct opposition to Maxwell," Olivia pointed out. "Right as he's moving to town, right as he's trying to establish a relationship with Lily. It puts you in opposition to a bad design that doesn't respect this town's heritage," James corrected. "If Maxwell takes that personally, that's his problem." Olivia gestured to the sketches spread around her. "I haven't designed anything real in 2 years, James. Not since the accident. What if I can't do it anymore? What if I make another mistake?" James crossed the room to stand beside her, his eyes taking in the drawings with genuine appreciation. "These don't look like the work of someone who can't do it anymore," he said quietly. "They look like the work of someone who sees what others miss. The soul of a building, the stories in its walls. That's what I used to be known for," Olivia admitted. "The Harlow touch," they called it. Finding the heart of a structure and building around it rather than over it. "Exactly what the cannery needs," James said. "Exactly what Harborview needs." Olivia looked down at her sketches, seeing them with fresh eyes. The design preserved the cannery's distinctive brick exterior and soaring ceilings while reimagining the interior as a modern workspace. It honored the building's industrial past while creating a functional future. "If I do this," she said slowly, "it can't be about Maxwell. It has to be about the building, about Harborview." "Agreed," James said firmly. "This town deserves someone who will fight for its character, not just its economic development." Olivia took a deep breath, making her decision. "All right, I'll present a preliminary design to the council, but I need to tell Maxwell myself before the meeting. I won't blindside him like he and Rebecca blindsided me." "Fair enough," James nodded, respect evident in his expression. "That's the difference between you and them, Olivia. You lead with integrity, even when it's difficult. If you've ever had to rebuild your life after betrayal, hit that like button and subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories of resilience and unexpected second chances.